All right, and then I'm going to share my screen. And all right, let's see. Nice. Okay. Cool. Well, I know that folks have already been using Collector in the field for the past couple of years now. I actually, when I first started with the district, worked with Kate's Knotweed program, and that's kind of mostly what I did, was working in Collector. But I know we helped Water Quality also set up a Collector app, as well as Habitat. And I know you guys are using those off and on. I know Ryan is in the middle of knotweed season. So this will be a great review of actually using Collector on an iPhone. I'll do a screen share with that. It might be a little sluggish, but I will also be showing you kind of the before and after of actually setting up the application in GIS Online, and then what comes after. For both Farm Team now and for Water Quality, I've set up these web applications for their programs that has the Collector data in it, with some features added in there for just quickly and easily, like printing a map, with some minor edits. So I'll be getting all into that in a little bit, but I did want to provide some context up front about what you need to use Collector, whether it's the technology and the equipment, how the data is actually set up in some terms, and then we'll be getting into those live demos. So with the trainings and those folks that are outside that aren't in the GIS, which is now the data team, I point people towards our GIS website. This is a good resource for you to overview some of our SOPs. We have our work plan. We have some maps published in here. And this is also where I upload our trainings. So I always recommend people to copy this link over and bookmark it in their web browsers. And I can send a link in the follow-up email after this meeting if you don't already have it. This is also the place where you submit project requests, which your GIS team member can help you fill out. So I'm going to be reviewing some of the technology that is part of the suite of tools needed to use Collector. You should already be familiar with all of these, but I'm going to try to explain, a quick review for the benefit of the newer GIS users here or watching a recording of this, like what each tool does and the purpose it serves. So with ArcMAP and what is now the ArcMAP Plus version, ArcGIS Pro is the desktop tool where is kind of the central platform for publishing data, making maps. It also has the full suite of what we call geoprocessing tools. So if you think about like clipping a layer, if you think about buffering, if you think about like direct edits, all of that happens here. There's a lot going in. There's a lot that happens in this ArcMAP and GIS Pro, like way more tools than I think you would ever need to use. So it can be a little like not very user friendly, but this is where I spend quite a bit of my time. We have also set up some kind of map templates for each program, or in the process of that, where like most of the data is already loaded in there. So it's as easy as like copy and pasting and renaming the map template and then making some changes and hitting print. And your GIS team member can kind of guide you to where those map templates exist. If they don't exist, we're working on those. GIS Online is a lot more user-friendly compared to the desktop version. There are less tools available, but you can do the same amount of kind of data editing, whether it's kind of adjusting the boundaries of polygon or changing the attribute data or resymbolizing. There are some geoprocessing tools as well, like buffering and clipping, just like ArcMAP, but those tools often require what's known as credits, which we share amongst all conservation districts. The person that administers our accounts monitors those quickly. So really, what I recommend for folks is to not use the geoprocessing tools at all in GIS Online. Instead, use it in an ArcMAP. And GIS Online is available in Microsoft Edge, Firefox, Google Chrome. I mostly use Google Chrome. And then what I'll be getting into in the screen share is this is also where you set up your collector maps. And then afterwards, when you come back in and manipulate and resymbolize the data, you can also share that data with partners or put it on a website or create a story map, which we covered in great detail in our last story maps training. And then collector, which we'll be spending most of our time on, you can just think of as the phone or mobile device version of GIS Online. It's specifically designed for collecting data in the field, whether you're visiting a restoration site or a farm or any of our other project sites like a rain garden site. This app is not available on desktop, but GIS Online and ArcMAP all work seamlessly with syncing all of the data between those platforms. And then finally, I just thought I would make a note of this. None of our programs use this, but this is a very pared down version of Collector Survey 123. It's very form centric. So if you can think of, Zoho forms, it's very similar to that, but it's a little bit more geospatial oriented. It does allow you to drop a point on a map. So if you can think of like door-to-door visits, this might be a good software platform to do that. You can't add more complicated geometry features like polygons or lines. And so a lot of the same functionality happens when you're dropping points on a map in Collector. So that's why everyone in the office uses Collector instead of GIS on Survey 123. The necessary equipment that is required for building and deploying a collector map. First things first, like you'll need to set everything up in desktop or laptop. You will obviously need a mobile device. There are both iPhone, Android, and Microsoft versions of the collector app, and they work on all of them. I believe that all of our programs use iPhone or iPad, and I've been, really happy using iPhone, so I usually steer people to that. With mobile hotspots, I recommend using these in only some cases. I know in the past with the Not Weak crew, they've camped out at near Ashford, where there isn't a lot of data or cell service. So they either have to go to like a Wi-Fi location or I believe they've used hotspots. But essentially, like, every time you collect data in the field offline, like you need to sync it. And that requires an internet connection. So in most cases, when you're going out for the day and returning to the office, you can just, you obviously wouldn't need a hotspot for that. And then, finally, I usually recommend people also use a GPS external receiver. Your iPhone and tablets already have a Bluetooth chip in it, but the GPS receivers have a lot higher accuracy compared to the Bluetooth chips in your phone. One thing I'll also note is that, and I've seen this issue before pop up, is that Wi-Fi only iPads do not have GPS chips in them. So you would definitely need an external GPS unit that's Bluetooth enabled to be able to use Collector. To get into a little bit more detail with the GPS chips in your phone, the accuracy is usually like 25 to 30 feet, which in some cases is helpful. In some cases it isn't. There are a range of GPS receivers that you can purchase. I know everyone in the office uses either Bad Elf Pro Plus or Bad Elf Surveyor. Obviously, the higher accuracy you seek, the more expensive it's going to be. And I know that $2,000 is probably very cost prohibitive for folks. So this is a much more budget-friendly option. Really, when you're needing to dial into sub-meter or sub-foot accuracy, like you would really require that for running a survey for like property lines or for running like a highway survey. So for our needs, the 3 foot to 9 foot accuracy fulfills most programs' needs for collecting data in the field. For the bad elves, I know people have had issues with this and before with one of the features, but turning it on, you just need to press and hold the power button for 3 seconds. I believe with some bad elves, they have a backlight with them. And so you would just quickly hit this button and that should turn on and off. With the Bluetooth button, the Bluetooth will obviously need to be turned on to link to your phone. You can, I'm not sure exactly how to enable for pairing mode. I don't have a Bluetooth device for me, but if you have questions and need to step through that with me, I can do that if you don't already know how to do that. And then finally, importantly, the GPS logger, data logger needs to be turned on to be able to use it with Collector. So it's pretty easy to do that. You just press and hold for 3 seconds. You can also press, just like tap on it to navigate through the different display screens. This is essentially like a down arrow. And I forgot to mention, like if you you just tap the button, the power button, that essentially is a toggle to move up screen. As far as pairing to an iPhone goes, and I'll just say I'm not monitoring the chat. If you want to unmute your mic and ask a question, it's totally cool to pop in. If you've ever connected like a Bluetooth device, like a speaker or headphones to your iPhone, you should be familiar with going into your settings, clicking on the Bluetooth tab, turning on your Bluetooth. And if your bad alpha is turned on, has its Bluetooth turned on, it should appear under other devices. All you really need to do is hit tap on one of these, and then you're going to see a Bluetooth pairing request. There's going to be a code here that pops up, and you need to confirm that code will also pop up on the bad elf. You don't need to type the code into either the iPad or the bad elf. You just need to hit pair after you've hit confirm. And you also need to hit the GPS button as well. Once you've done that, you should see that it is connected as well. And then once you've linked the Bluetooth, the GPS to Bluetooth on an iPad or iPhone, you don't need to go through these steps again. It'll just display under my devices. You can click on it and it will connect. And then as far as connecting to Collector goes, so when you open the Collector application on your phone, you're going to see a little button up in the upper left corner at this little person in a circle. You're going to click on that, and this little menu is going to pop up, and you're going to hit settings. This screen is going to appear, and you scroll down until you see provider. This screen will pop up. You'll see integrated. Integrated means that it's using the GPS chip in the iPhone. You would click on this, and there's going to be another menu that pops up with a plus sign. You can't see it here. They already went to the next screen. But you would hit plus, add receiver. The bad elf that you already Bluetooth connected will appear, and you're going to hit add. Antenna height isn't very important unless you need the vertical height of a point or geometry feature you collect. You can enter like a default if you think about like where you're going to be holding, probably going to be holding the bad elf receiver. Just think about shoulder height. I believe that this is just a default height in meters. It's kind of a pain that it's in meters, but you could probably just do an easy conversion. And now it's going to show up under GPS receivers, bad elf. You can select it. And now when you return to the main menu, you can just begin using the collector map like normal. And now it'll be using that higher accuracy bad elf instead of the GPS chip in your phone. So I wanted to quickly get into how the data connects across our server in GIS Online and Collector. It used to be the case that GIS datasets were stored separately on GIS Online and server. The issue with that is that those datasets didn't talk to each other, and so it couldn't track simultaneous edits. An issue with that is like somebody would maybe perform an edit in the office, somebody would perform an edit online. And the only way to fit those together is to go one by one through the data that was edited or deleted and put them back together. You couldn't, if you took the GIS Online version and downloaded and merged it with the server, the version stored on a computer, it would overwrite all the changes. Now the data using this software called ArcGIS Server, which I'm not going to get into because it's complicated, it works seamlessly across all of these platforms. And so an edit performed in the field or online or on our desktop, it's tracked simultaneously with these like timestamps, and then it all merges together. Data collected offline is synced every 30 minutes using a custom script. So it's not synced automatically. If you collect the data with a data connection, not with the offline version of Collector, it syncs automatically. So that will be important to know. I'm going to show you how to sync the map when I share my screen from my iPhone. And then you will be able to access the data, collected in the field across all of these different software platforms. You can have as many map versions or offline areas as you want, and it's all the same data set. So it doesn't matter. Like you don't need to track that or worry about creating copies or whatever, because it's going to be the same data set. We used to be really familiar with a term called shapefiles. We have really moved away from that, and I'm not going to get too much into the logic of it. But it used to be the case where you would have to go through and dig through the shared drive to find random shapefiles, or you would have to maybe zip up a shapefile, which had like 7 or 8 different like files, things in a package, and then share it with a partner. We have now moved to this other definition term, which is called a feature class. It's pretty much the same thing as a shapefile, except for it's now stored in this centralized location called a geodatabase. You can think of like a geodatabase as like a bucket or like a library shelf that catalogs and organizes all of your data grouped together. So for each program, whether it's knotweed or it's water quality or it's farm, each of you has a geodatabase that stores all of your data in there. Domains, which we can now set up in those geodatabases, you can think of as the drop-down menus when you like add a new point to a collector map. So if you think of like a pre-populated drop-down menu of like different invasive species or native trees, all of those options are going to be in there, and that is what is called a domain. So you don't need to like type it every time. You can just select the drop-down menu and click knotweed, for example. A featured data set, which I skipped, sorry, is simply just the binding together or a collection of feature classes. And then feature services is basically the feature class published to GIS Online. Hopefully most of you are familiar with this. This is what we call a data dictionary, and this is where we track all of the fields and attributes and domains that a program wishes to publish. It's basically the Excel version of what's published in GIS Online and ArcMAP in those geodatabases. This is the knotweed data dictionary. But when we go through this process once a year where your GIS data member distributes this spreadsheet to you and asks like, hey, do you want any changes updated in your collector app? Like this would be the time to add, well, like there is a habitat type that's missing. I would like to include a forest area or upper bank. That process happens once a year. Usually we start that in January. We're still running through some updates for folks. But then once that process is complete, those changes will then be reflected in Collector. And then Mara and I go through that process of taking this spreadsheet and going directly into ArcMAP and doing the updates. We don't require your teams to do that. All right. Okay, this is where we go into the live demo. All right. So before we get into actually kind of sharing my screen with the iPhone, I'm going to show you how to first set up the collector map on GIS Online. The first step that you'll need to take is to log in, wacds.maps.arcgis.com. You can bookmark that in your browser. Once you're logged in, this is your home page. And you're going to need to hit the map tab right here. You just click on that. The map pulls up a default base map. And I already have the data loaded in here. This is kind of a little bit messy. But if you're going to add data, whether it's your collector data or partner data, you would hit this add button right here, and you would hit search for layers. This data is published in my account, so it wouldn't be in my content. It would instead be in my groups. And if you have an account, you are going to be already added to your programs group. So I'm going to demo the water quality collector app. I'm going to go to my groups. I'm going to hit water quality, and all of the data is going to be in here. I'm interested in the collector data set, so I'm going to hit plus. I already added the data in here, so I'm not going to hit that button. You can also add other data layers in here. Let's give me a second. Let's add in some administrative data. So maybe we want to add wetlands. And maybe we want to add, I think there are parcels in here. Here we go. So I'm not going to go into much more detail, add many more data sets than that. I will note, and it's very important, for these data sets, for your collector map to be downloadable, all of these data layers are going to be enabled for offline use. So you couldn't just go into like GIS Online and add random data into here, because none of these are enabled for offline use. So for example, rivers or hydro, for example. If I add that into the map, I can no longer download this for offline use.
There's not a way for us to, once it's in that on the left-hand side in the catalog, for us to enable it for offline use?
So I actually have to enable for offline use in ArcMAP. I have permission to do that, you don't. So the collector data sets are downloaded for offline use. We already went through the process of like a request for partner data that folks wanted available for offline use. That data is going to be available in my groups and in the PCD general folder. Oops, I have the Hydro Center light on. So all of these are enabled for offline use. If, at least I believe so. Yes. I'm gonna remove them just in case it's not gonna work. But if you need additional layers like text parcels in your collector map, that's something you can request from me. Okay. All right. You can also change your base map here using the base map button. Most folks, because they're zoomed in to like an individual parcel or whatever for collecting data, use the imagery, which is here. Unfortunately, this is the highest resolution available, but it fits most folks' needs. That's pretty good, I think. Like, you don't often need to be zoomed in beyond that. I'm not sure how dated this imagery is, but it's the most up-to-date that GIS ESRI offers. You can also change symbology here before you download for offline use. You do need to download the symbology before downloading for offline use. So that's an important note. So the way to do that is to hover over the data set, click on it, click location and options, hit symbols. Often with points, I just do like basic. I crank it up to like 8 or so. Do just like a basic circle. Do like something bright that's going to catch the eye. And then you're good. I think I'm going to do native trees as well. Why not? Oh. Species. There we go. So here, because we've set the domains, like I said, this is going to be the drop-down menu available when you add a point for native trees. So I'm going to symbolize based on here. I'm gonna change the symbology, add a nice white background, change the transparency. And now we're good. I think Caleb or the WCC crew collected data a while ago here. So you can kind of see that these are native trees mapped. And if you click on one, like Western Red Cedar, you can also rename. So this is going to be the default name loaded in. that's probably going to be a pain when you pull it up in Collector. So you might want to rename by getting rid of all of this. Okay. When I am done, I am going to save my map. And I'm going to add some tags that make sense. So when you're searching in the GIS Online, it should be easy to find habitat, or maybe like sites. Usually for the summary, I just copy and paste. I have my own folder structure. So you might want to do something that makes sense for you. These folders aren't, you can't view these, so you might want to create your own. And then I just hit save map and it should be ready to go. I'm going to go ahead and navigate to the water quality maps. This is the collector map I just created. If you see this little button here, this means that, sorry, only I can view this map and edit it. If I want to change the permissions on this, I can click on the map and then I can hit share. And I can either hit owner, organization, which is all conservation districts, or everyone publicly. I can also hit edit group sharing and just click on a specific program. And then any member of that GIS Online group has access to this map for editing and downloading to their mobile devices. So I'm going to just hit save. There are ways to save this externally. Share this externally with specific users. So this came up recently with Ryan and Knotweed with his Earth Core crew. Like, I had to work with them to create like a new group to set up so it could be shared specifically with them, but not publicly. Okay. All right, now we're going to go into settings. You might want to hit prevent this item from being accidentally deleted. It's actually very easy to do that in GIS Online, so you might as well. Ignore the extent. This should already be toggled for offline mode. Not sure. You should just use the default settings here. That's fine. Map areas. I'm going to show how to do this on your phone because that's what most people do. That's what I do for downloading for offline use. But this might be a new feature. I haven't used this before, but you can hit manage areas and pre-select some offline areas available to download for folks. And it sounds like it downloads more quickly if you do that. I don't need others to save a copy of this. Using Collector, hit save. You can also set up editor tracking and date tracking. So if somebody adds a point to a map, it timestamps it. I have to set up that functionality in ArcMAP. But if that's something you want, I can do that. Okay. All right, I think it was a little wonky doing this from my phone, but I'm going to try sharing my screen now from there. Okay. Give me a second. Share screen. Can you guys see that okay? My iPhone?
Yes.
Yeah, good. Okay. So first things first is you are going to need to download the Collector app. You go to the App Store, you type in Collector, and it should pop up. Oh, it is very poorly reviewed. Not a lot of fans. This is the ArcGIS Collector, the first one here, is the newer version. And that's the one that I'm going to use today. The Collector Classic is the older version. You can use either or, it doesn't matter. But I imagine that Collector Classic is going to go away at some point. So that's why I'm going to use Collector today. So I'm going to navigate once downloaded to Collector. And the maps that you have permission to access are going to be available here. So you're not going to see all of these. You're going to just see the ones you have permission for. So the PCD Water Quality Collector map is the one that I just downloaded or just created. Oh, and shoot, just give me a second. I have to, before I download, I'm going to show you a few other settings that you need. So if you look at the upper left-hand corner, there's that person icon. You're going to click on that, and provider, that's where you're going to select the bad elf, or you're going to add a new one if you haven't already. You can change some of your accuracy settings. So here, accuracy is the required location accuracy for data collection. So sometimes your GPS is going to have poor accuracy. If you think about like tree obstruction or cloud cover. And so if the accuracy read in Collector is like 35 feet, it's not going to save the dot that you put on a map. So if that gets frustrating, if you want to relax the accuracy setting, you can do that here. You don't need 95% confidence. You can leave that out. Streaming, which I can't show you today because I'm at home, but if you think about creating a polygon on a map, say you want to trace around like the property line or a planting area, you would say start streaming for a polygon layer, and you can walk around the perimeter of that. And so here you can either select time or distance. So if you selected time, 5 seconds means that every 5 seconds, a point like a vertice of the polygon is going to drop, or you hit distance. And so for every 10 feet that you walk, the point is going to drop. Obviously, the shorter the distance or the shorter the time, the more high resolution the polygon is going to be. But it depends on what your needs are. I wouldn't recommend going above the default set. GPS averaging. So if you're going to drop a point on the map, it kind of in the background Collector is like drop a point here, 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 here. You can't see that, but the point that winds up on the map is the average of those points. Some of the layers are enabled for photo uploading, but not all of them. And I think that that's all you need in the settings. You're also going to need to sign in as well when you first use this. Okay. So 1 second. Okay, good. Oh, it's current. So I can either, if I have a direct internet connection, I just can hit collect. And because I have a Wi-Fi connection, you can see that in the upper screen. I can just begin collecting. I don't need it like an offline area downloaded. However, if you're going in the field, if you know that you don't have a reliable like cell coverage, you would hit the three dot symbol there, and you would go to add offline area. You would zoom to the location that you want to collect at. So because I live in North Tacoma, I'm just going to go right around here. The level of detail is the level of resolution that you want to see. So that ranges from a room all the way up to the planet. Obviously, like the bigger the scale, the level of detail, the lower resolution the image is going to be. So if you're scaled to look at the whole world in the map, the resolution is going to be just fine. But if you zoom in closer to a state, city, or neighborhood level, it's going to be super blurry and not very useful for you. I recommend in most cases, like either a street or neighborhood view, because the resolution increased down to the room level is like, it's just a lot of data to download to your phone, and it's going to take a very long time to do that. And the resolution level isn't that much better than the neighborhood or street level. So here I'm just going to select neighborhood. Data is loaded in the map. I'm going to hit download area. This can take a little bit of time. And so I am not going to wait for that to happen, because as you remember, as I told you earlier, if I collect data in offline mode, it's going to take 30 minutes to sync back with the computer. So I'm just going to stop that. You can also, here we go. For offline areas that I have already downloaded, say for example, Knotweed, I was testing this. Once you have completed an edit, I'm going to just do this real quick, and then I'm going to so you're going to see an averaging above that it's processing. I'm going to hit submit, and I'm going to go back into this in a second. But I just wanted to show you that there appears, when you look at the map in the menu, that one local edit has been completed. To sync that, I need to hit this button above and hit sync, and then it'll pop back up in GIS Online. Or in the menu, I can hit sync here. There is a way to set up auto sync as well, but like as soon as you're connected back to data coverage. But I usually don't enable that for folks. All right, let's go back into the water quality map. And now I'm going to show you how to collect a line, point, and polygon. So the little blue dot on the map is where I live, and that's where I'm located right now. So to locate yourself on a map, all you have to do is hit this arrow waypoint button, and it's going to take you right to where you're at, and it's going to zoom in. You can also search addresses, although I'm not sure how functional that is. In most cases, you don't need that. Before you collect or add any data to the map, if you just want to measure features, you can do so using this tool. And you can see in the bottom right corner the length of a line, or the length or the area of a polygon down there, 0.04 square miles. So gonna exit out of that. Okay. When you're ready to add data, in the bottom right corner is that plus sign with a blue circle. You're going to click that. And for native trees, I'm going to hit that. I can either, so here you can see I have a 15-foot accuracy, which is pretty great. I'm going to kind of either you're at the actual tree and you want to drop a point where you're at, or you can locate to a different part of the parcel or site that you're at and also drop a point. I'm going to go ahead and select big leaf maple. I'm going to select healthy. I'm going to select the height, and I'm going to make a note like, I don't know. Nope. And then I'm going to hit submit. And now you can't see that unless you like zoom really in, but you can see that the dot is now in the map. All right, I'm going to try adding a line now. And you can also like walk along the length of the feature you're trying to measure using the trace, but in this case, I'm not going to walk 5 blocks to just demonstrate tracing a line. I can add features and hit submit. All right, and now I'm just going to demo how to do a polygon real quick. Use target location instead of streaming. We're going to just draw a polygon. And then once I'm done, I'm not going to add much information beyond that, but I'm just going to hit submit. And then you can also see below next to the green square, the area, 108 acres. Hit submit. And now we are done with that. Let me see if I had anything else marked here. Nope. Because I have a web connection and this is not an offline area, it's already synced to GIS Online. So we're not going to bother with that. All right. Any questions before I go back to sharing my desktop screen?
Nick, I have one question. Is there a big difference between using the iPad versus iPhone for Collector?
The display looks a little bit different. I used iPhone a lot in the field. It's just a lot more compact, and that's what I'm familiar with. But a lot of the features, all of the features are still there. You know,
Okay.
so it depends on, like, I would recommend looking at it for both and then just using whatever is more friendlier for you.
Okay, great.
Cool.
Thank you.
To
Okay.
follow up on Belinda's question, there's no added functionality with the iPad. It's maybe just a larger screen.
Yeah, and the buttons are, I think, in different places. Did I already say that Wi-Fi iPads don't have GPS chips in them?
Yes.
Good. Okay, just wanted to make a note of that again. But yes, I think the buttons are in a couple of different places, but like it's all there. Okay, cool. I'm going to stop sharing my screen from here. And now I'm going to share my screen again. And here's the same collector map that I created. Once you're back in the office, you can all go ahead and just pull that map up. I recommend if you're creating a new map to share with partners and you want to put in other data and hit print, that you don't do that in the collector map that you created. The reason for that, again, is that if you add new data in here that is not enabled for offline use, people in the field are no longer going to be able to use that. So what I'm going to do instead is I am going to create a new map. I'm going to add that same data in. And you can already see the edits that I completed on my phone. The polygon line point are in here, which is great. The data that is in here is going to be the same one that's in the other web app, the collector map that I created, and the same that's on the phone. And like I said before, it doesn't matter how many maps you have, the data is going to sync across them. The symbology that if you re-symbolize the data here, like it isn't going to have any impact on the collector map. So you're good to make any changes that you want. You can also go ahead and add in that other data that you might want to use to analyze the data further or provide context or whatever. So let's go ahead and add in those hydro center lines from Pierce County. And those will all pop up. And I can go ahead and I'm just going to re-symbolize the native trees. Eight. All right. You do not need to limit your edits to just collector. You can also do that in this new map that you created. So to be able to do that, you either hit edit mode and you click on the theme you want to edit. So I can add a note. And I believe there's, just give me a second, because I believe there's a way to actually edit the polygon itself. Maybe not. There is definitely a way to edit the polygon in ArcMAP. So like I brought up before, there are some limitations to using GIS Online. Say I want to say, well, actually, like checked on that tree again and it's stressed. I can do that. And then it'll update. Okay, and then I'll hit. I can also add new data. Where is trees? And then exit out. You're good to go. Okay. Already I showed you how to add the data in, simple edits. Okay. You can also configure pop-ups in here as well. So say if you're going to publish a map or share with a partner and you only want to share pertinent information, the way to do that is, and we're going to hit hover over the native trees. We are going to hit the 3-dot button here and we're going to hit configure pop-up. You can remove the pop-up as well if you don't want to show that. So I'll create pop-up. I can select or unselect options and whether or not it's editable when you have the pop-up here. So let's turn off node, for example. I don't want that. Now, when I click on one of the native trees, you're no longer going to see note here. So that's an option available to you. I can also filter data that I don't want to see here. The way that I do that, I hover over and you're going to see this little funnel button. So say, for example, I only want to see that Sitka spruce. Apply filter, you're going to see that the native tree, the only red dot, that maple, disappeared. To turn it back on, you're going to need to remove the filter. When I'm done, I hit save. And if I want to share it with everyone publicly, organization, partners, I have a way to do that here. And then I can copy the link over. You can also create a web application, which I'm not going to show you how to do. That could take a little bit of time, but to be able to do that, you would just create a web app. And there are a lot of templates already available. But what I usually do is I hit web app builder and I kind of start from scratch. I am, however, going to show you the web application that I created for water quality. So again, here's the GIS website. I'm going to hit maps. I'm going to go to water quality. and here it is. So to be able to access this map, I had to make some customizations to this beyond what was available in GIS Online. And so I had to download and store this map to our server, and it is hosted from there. So you need a VPN connection to be able to access. This screen is going to pop up, and don't worry about that. This is just like connecting to server through your file explorer. It's just using your web browser. So you would hit advanced. I'm not sure how it looks like in other internet browsers, but this is how it looks like in Chrome. So I hit advanced. I hit proceed to server. Because of the permission setting, I do need my GIS Online account login info. You're going to need to do this every time. All right. So I have already loaded in the water quality data here. I'm going to just turn on a couple of the layers. So I collected data using native trees and forbs. No, it was shrubs. And then other polygon. So again, all of the data is there. And if it has pop-ups, you can click on it. You can also edit, and it's all there. Let's go ahead and just zoom in to this property. I also have parcel data loaded in here. There is a whole lot of other data available to you, including your program data. So DPAVE sites, lake sites, stream team sites. There's a lot of partner data available, watersheds. Remember those hydro center lines that I mentioned? Those are all in here. You'll see that there. Many of these data sets have pop-ups enabled. So if I clicked on a parcel, for example, I could get the parcel number. I could get the landowner information, etc. All those pop-ups can be configured. And then the benefit of a web application is that you have these really nifty widgets or tools that you can build in here. So say that I wanted to add data from GIS Online. I can do that by using the search feature. So watersheds. I can add that in there by hitting add. I'm not going to do that. It's important to know that when you add it, this isn't going to be permanently saved. So for the purpose of creating a map or analysis, the only permanent data sets that are saved in this map are going to be under the table of contents. I can add new data sets, but that's something that you'll need to request. You can also draw new features in here. So for example, with Melissa's water quality program, say I want to identify potential downspouts. I can add a label. I can change. Oh, there we go. I can change the symbology, maybe throw in some transparency there. Like 2, downspout number 1. Black is fine. I don't need the measurement totals in this case, but I'm going to go ahead and add that here. Oh. I wonder if I have to change size on that. This is something that I recommend you play around with. Sorry, guys. I thought that I could delete these. Oh yeah, this button. I could delete edits. I think there's a point button in the here. Yeah, there it is. Maybe drop a point. Downspout locations, and then maybe I want to show rain garden area. Double click when done, and there we go. I can also show the area measurement. I need to make sure that I click that first. I can hit clear and start over. Maybe I'll show the perimeter too in feet and in square feet. These tools can be a bit of a pain because not all of the functionality is there compared with ArcMAP, but it is here. So there are trade-offs with using this tool. When I am done, and if I just want to hit print and go and download the map and attach it to like a report after a site visit to deliver to someone, I can do that by hitting print. Oh, maybe I want to throw in like imagery too. I'll go to do that. And then when I'm done, I can select landscape or portrait. Let's go to just do the default landscape, and I can select size. So when I'm ready, there's some other settings here. Honestly, I just recommend keeping the default. The only thing that I might want to change is the print quality when you're downloading the PDF. But in this case, I don't want to do that because that will take some more time. So when I'm done, I just hit print, and it's going to take a few seconds to do that. And I click, and there it is. There's the legend. There's the title, the scale bar, and what you've drawn on the map, and the features that you've collected. And it's as easy as just hitting download, and then it's stored as a PDF. One other thing to note is that themes that you draw using this tool and this tool will not be saved as soon as I hit refresh or I exit out of this map. Melissa and I have talked about creating some permanent, like an outfall here, a downspout area, or like a rain garden polygon. But those themes are going to have to wait until we do the data dictionary updates. You know, the benefit of this, though, is it's a super user-friendly option compared to what's available on ArcMAP. These tools, like drawing tools, are available in a way in ArcMAP, but they are difficult to locate. So I'm gonna go ahead and exit out of here unless you guys want me to play with this a little bit more, if you want to see anything else. And I'm going to go over to ArcMAP. Anything? Okay, cool. Exit out of that. Exit. Is everybody here, like, that's using ArcMAP or GIS Pro, like, using the shared resource computer, like, able to remote in okay? I know people were having issues using, like, remoting in through VPN on their desktops. I've noticed a big difference using the shared resource computer. No, okay.
I haven't tried it yet, but I will on your advice.
It's a lot better. Obviously with us going back in the office, like, things will be back in a good place, but it was maddening for me doing a lot of GIS and LiDAR to not have that available to me. So big improvement.
Cool.
All right. So a lot of the same steps that I'm going to run through here. There is a specific workflow when you are creating a new map. What that workflow looks like, and I covered this in the Data Stewards 101 training, is you're going to go to the shared drive, GIS, projects, your program, and there's going to be a base, like there's going to be a template already there that is located at the top, and it uses this naming convention. If you go in here, you're going to see a geodatabase already. You're going to see the MXD, and you're going to see something already there. So for this, the workflow, what that looks like is I'm going to copy, I'm going to paste, and I'm going to rename. So water quality, my initials, the project, collector training 2, and then the date. So the year, month, day. I'm going to get rid of that because I already created one. But I'm just going to access, do the MXD, double click on that. And I don't think I have any data loaded in here yet. So we're going to do that. Okay, so I already mentioned that the data, like whether it's the field data or your program data or whatever, they are now saved in what I call the geodatabases, not in shapefiles. If you look at the old way of doing things, administrative, this is how things used to look before, and it was a big mess. This is now cleaned up quite a bit by going into the GIS data PCD. You're going to see your program, and you're going to see this folder called SDE. You're going to click on that, and this is where your geodatabase is. You're going to double click on it to make a connection. And you know that you're connected when a little plus sign appears next to it. So give it a second to do that. The connection is going to form a lot more quickly if you're either accessing in the office or through the shared resource computer. So it can be a little bit slow unless you do it. So give that a second. While it's, oh, there we go. So plus, this is going to be where all your program data is. I'm not going to load any of the program data like rain gardens or stream team sites. What I'm interested here in is the collector data set, which is here. So you see the trees, points, polygons, everything's in there. So all I need to do is to drag this into here, into the map, and it is going to appear in your table of contents. I'm going to go ahead and zoom in. And again, just like GIS Online, just like Collector, this is the same data. that was in like save there. And again, edits you perform in here are going to show up in collector. Edits you perform in collector are going to show up here. So it's pretty much seamless. You can also add in partner data here by hitting add data from ArcGIS Online. We're going to do hydro center lines again. Hit add. And we're good to go. I can also add in a base map by hitting this again and hit add base map. Let's go ahead and just do imagery. Might take a second. You're going to see that little spinny globe, which means it's loading very slowly. That might be more my internet connection more than anything. There we go. I'm going to zoom in here. And, you know, just like usual, like you can go into the table of contents and you can re-symbolize. I'm not going to get too much into that, but, you know, it's a very similar workflow to GIS Online. You can also perform edits. By using the editor toolbar here, and you can hit start editing. Let's go to native trees again, hit OK. Okay, I'm having an issue pop up here. Oh, it's not registered as version. That is really weird because it definitely should be registered as version. Okay, that's something I have to troubleshoot. I think I can do it very quickly. If not, we're going to move on. There we go. Stop. That is so weird. I'm not going to bother with this for now, but suffice it to say, you can use the editor toolbar to delete, to edit the attributes, to reshape. And those edits are going to appear in GIS Online and Collector. I'm not going to get into the geoprocessing tools, but if you've used ArcMAP before, you're probably familiar with like clipping a shape or buffering or whatever. That's where you would perform those kind of advanced edits. I think in the way that we've built the GIS Online web applications, that is going to fit most of your needs. And you could already see it's a lot more user-friendly than in here. I mostly use ArcMAP to do data publishing, like changing those domains and stuff like that. There are those common geoprocessing tools, which I think I provide an interview an overview of the most common tools in the data steward training. When I am ready to print, I'm going to select a template that works best for me. I created some default PCD templates a while ago with our logo and like a disclaimer and stuff like that. To put these templates into your map template folder, so it's easy enough to select when you pull up a new map or you want to switch between sizes or orientation. There are instructions to do that. If you go to GIS, cross-program team GIS, SOPs, map templates, and there's a PowerPoint screenshot step through on how to do that. I might upload that to the GIS website too. So I'm going to just select that one. And you can see there's a default legend. You might need to make some changes here to the map template. If you want to get into that, I'm happy to do that another time. It's just going to take a bit of time for me to step through that right now. Yeah, there's some wonkiness in here too, so I'm not going to try to fix these. I'll make a note to fix these later. And then, yeah, when I'm ready to go, I hit print, and I can either print to a PDF, or I can print directly to our printer in the office. There are some things you're going to have to change, like the setup. It's a letter, but it's a landscape orientation. So there we go. And then I'm just going to hit print. I wonder where it went. I think I can hit save to a specific location. Oh yeah, there we go. Print to file. And then I can select a location. In this case, I'm just going to do what? Maybe it's saved to my project folder. If you get around to doing this, I'll show you how to do it. Okay, cool. But that's the basic workflow for using ArcMAP to access your collector data. And then I think that's it. Do you guys have any questions?
I have a question.
Yeah.
When I am in ArcGIS Online, editing points that I collected in the field, and then I try to save the edits, it wants me to make a new map or like a copy of my map each time. Yeah.
Each time? Well, the thing with that is that for the maps that I own, you cannot edit and save your edits. So you need to own a map, which you can save a copy of that and rename it to be your own thing. And then you would just access that copy every time, and then it'll save edits. But because I own the map, I'm the only one that can save edits.
Okay, thanks. Then I'll go edit my own. But it'll save across because it's the same data set. No.
Yes. Yeah.
Yes. Okay, great.
But are you talking about saving edits to the data or saving edits to the map, like symbology changes or adding new data?
Edits to the data. Like I go and I'm like, oh, that was the wrong tree species, or it was actually unhealthy. I need to change the attribute that's on this dot.
Can you reach out to me and I'll troubleshoot with you?
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because that shouldn't be happening.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's probably, I'm working with the short-friendly data set that the other administrator set up.
Oh,
So maybe
okay.
it's, they haven't given me permission to do that.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay.
So maybe I would contact them just to make
Okay.
sure.
Okay, so it's a permissions issue. Okay, thanks.
Okay. Anything else? Okay. Well, we can probably wrap up then. But I think when it comes time for us to return in the office more full time, once you're in the field more, I've done this a couple times with like Belinda, Caleb, and a couple of others where we actually go in the field and use the iPad or whatever. And I'm happy to, visit a restoration site or, a farm or one of your other sites to kind of talk you through how to actually, trace and stream data and save and whatever. Like that's, yeah, I'm happy to do that with you all, especially if Collector is newer to you. Cool. All right. Well, with that, I'm going to stop sharing my screen. And I'm going to end the recording.